First on film and entertainment, a very good day to all with Peter Krause, Greg King, Jaqui Hammerton, with me, Alex, first. And we are going to start off straight away with a movie that has a demonic-looking James McAvoy in it. Tell you what, he's a mighty fine actor, isn't he, Jackie? Tell you, he's a wonderful, wonderful... He's a character actor that gets into character pretty quickly, and in Speak No Evil, he is evil personified, correct?
Oh, he is. I've liked him ever since he was the fawn in the Narnia film. And Speak No Evil isn't a film I would normally go to because it's, it's promoted as a scary horror film. But I went to see it just because he's in it. So, yes, I love James McAvoy.
Yeah, psychological horror thriller. And, good of you. Just for the sake of this program, you've gone along to see it. So we'll get your views in a moment. Well, let's get your views, Peter. James McAvoy as an actor, where does he rate?
He's pretty good. He's been in a few M. Night Shyamalan films, but he tends to eat the scenery a little bit.
Oh, okay. Greg, your views?
He's quite capable, actually. He's capable of playing charming, but also nasty. And he's also in the remakes of the X-Men, playing the young
correct
male saviour.
Well, here he is the manipulative husband and father character. And you've got the basis here of an American family meeting and befriending a British family while they're holidaying in Italy. And soon thereafter, the Americans are invited to spend a weekend at the seemingly idyllic country estate of the Brits. But what starts out with promise ends up as a twisted nightmare. So let me go into a little bit of detail. Ben Dalton, played by Scoot McNairy, and his wife Louise Mackenzie Davis, along with their 11-year-old daughter Agnes, played by Alex West, moved to London for a job opportunity. And unfortunately, that did not work out. They still decided to stay on. There's tension in the relationship, but Louise thinks a weekend away might be just the ticket. And when they arrive at the isolated rustic home of the Brits, they're warmly greeted by Paddy, played by James McAvoy, and his wife, Chiara Aisling Franciosi. They have a mute son called Ant, played by Dan Hoff. Paddy, well, he's got this larger-than-life persona. He's loud, he's effusive, he's an alpha male, let's face it, who dominates. Chiara, well, she appears to be subjugated by him. And Ant, tentative and scared. Several incidents make Louise feel uncomfortable, and she's keen to leave early. Bear in mind, though, we're only going for the weekend. Only a failed attempt at doing so sees the stakes ratcheted up, and it's just a matter of time before the American family is subjected to a vortex of evil in which their lives are in peril. It's been written and directed by James Watkins, who did The Woman in Black, and it's based on a Danish film that came out a couple of years ago. So an air of unease permeates the movie as the tension builds, leading up to an edge-of-your-seat final half hour. That's when it really comes to bite. And in fact, the plot takes some time to develop, although it's clear no good can come of the outbursts that infuse the storyline. It's a cleverly woven tale of a twisted mind. McAvoy's demented facial expressions are what really stand out to me. They're the killer, pun fully intended. And there's a disingenuousness about his persona that is horribly attractive. Again, I've deliberately used a pun there. The secondary plot line concerning the tensions in the American family add a bit of heft. And then there's the predicament of the English family's son. Mackenzie Davis, paints Louise as a competent but wary individual. Scoot McNairy gives voice to a man with issues to work through. And I also appreciated the understanding developed between the children, well realised by Alex West and Dan Hoff. I thought the film was really well shot, often with a claustrophobic feel, by Tim Morris Jones, and he worked with the director Watkins on The Woman in Black. It's quite a wild and intense ride. As I say, it takes a bit of time to develop. It has sting and bite, and it leaves an imprint. That's what you want of a psychological horror thriller. What do you reckon, Jackie?
Oh, it sounds like the category of psychological thriller. But towards the end, I found it more comedic than scary. I didn't even find it scary, I might say. I think maybe the characters were just that little bit too exaggerated. And I thought towards the end where shall we say, the real action happens, where the real physical threats come out, tended to be funny. And I thought it was deliberately funny to kind of break the tension, because I certainly laughed.
Yeah, I found totally opposite to you. I'm not surprised by that, because you are a recalcitrant individual like Peter Krause is. So
I really had to be, Alex. So it's good that I achieved that.
Hang on. You weren't scared at all. You weren't. Hang on. I want to get this clear. No scary bits at all.
No, not at all. Because I knew you could tell straight off who was the bad character. Well, I mean, you knew that before you arrived at the cinema. So you knew that was going to ramp up. I thought the way it ramped up was actually quite good. You know, there was this excruciating, creepy awkwardness with the inappropriate comments and the way his personality started to just sort of drift out, and then he'd pull back, and everything he said had quite a logical explanation for why he'd say it. So of course you start doubting yourself. Well, the characters started doubting themselves, and oh no, actually he's fine. It's me who's seeing things where there's not a problem. Until of course we know that there is a problem. I thought the children were particularly good.
Yeah.
Really, really good in it, both the boy and the girl, Ant and the girl. And I also thought the secondary, the couple, Mackenzie Davis and Scoot McNairy, that couple, their characters were really well drawn, a little bit unusual. She had a good strength to her, and he was a bit of a, how do you say?
It's a bit wuss, absolutely. Yeah.
Which worked really well with the theme of the story of the.
Hang on. Are you saying that in real life that would work well as well, Jacqueline?
I'm not saying that in real life. You were watching a film.
I just want to clarify that. You being a strong-willed woman yourself, so there you go. I wondered whether you basked in the glory of those dual characters. That was all.
Oh, whatever.
Whatever. All right. Gregory King, have you seen Speak No Evil?
I have, and I've also seen the original Danish version.
Did you? Wow.
And the ending of this film, the ending of the original film was much darker and bleaker, without a happy ending to this film. This one, it's fine, but the ending here is more your typical Hollywood thriller thing. It keeps pushing the boundaries and putting in that claustrophobic accent, as you said there, but there's a bit of a change there. But James McAvoy made for a creepy character there who would go from charming 1 minute, switching to sort of a bit more malevolent, a bit more menacing, outrageous other moments. I do agree with Jackie and what she said and you said. The two kids there were fantastic. They were really good and believable. The scenery was nice too. The farmhouse had that claustrophobic atmosphere. But the mood of the film was able to change and keep you off balance all the way through it. But as I said, the ending here went for a typical cathartic Hollywood ending rather than the bleak original, which was left a bit of a nasty aftertaste in the mouth.
Which I must admit, I'm not wishing ill, but yeah, I kind of wish that the Hollywood ending wouldn't necessarily play out in most films that we see. I think real life, unfortunately, horrible. There have been some horrible stories this week, and we don't need to go into too much detail about it, but where things don't work out. So, yeah, interesting observation, Greg. So the name, in case anybody wants to sort of check out the Danish film, if you can see it somewhere, it's called Gestern, Gaesterne. Peter Krause.
It's screened at MIF under the name of Speak No Evil, though.
Oh, okay. Terrific. All right. Well, it's good to know. So, sorry, what do you say? It's screening. It's screened, do you mean?
Yeah, they screened at MIF a couple of years ago.
Oh, I see. I'm not sure where you'd see it today, Peter? Any ideas?
No, but it probably will turn up on World Movies. So this Danish film, as Greg has said, was much darker, and it's only a couple of years old. And why the Americans have this predilection for remaking films not in the English language in English, and then also watering them down so that they lose the original impact, is beyond me, because I was really quite bored by this film,
Right.
partly because the original serial killer notion of James McAvoy and his family's characters, and the abuse of children, which are all suggested in the original Danish film, are very much absent from this English language remake.
What was the oh golly, there was a film a number of years ago which I think in both English or maybe they didn't, about children unfortunately perishing, etc., in a remote farmhouse. It's so frustrating. It really chilled me to the core. I think they did make an English language film out of it as well. It's not, I mean, what you're saying, Peter, though, there are examples where I know it doesn't work all the time, but The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, they did that in both European version and American. I thought both of them were strong. Did you not think that?
I thought the original was still superior. The American version, again, was slightly watered down, and lost some of its original impetus from the...
Really? What about you, Greg? I mean, that to me is a good example where both films were good.
Yeah, they've done it a few times. There is that La Femme de Luc Besson film that John Badham remade. It was virtually frame for frame remade, but it still lacks something of the original. But on the downside, one of my favourite French films was The Intouchables. That
was lovely,
Yes.
yeah.
But the Americans remade it with Bryan Cranston and one of my least favourite actors, Kevin Hart. When they stuffed it up beyond belief there, they just lost whatever made the original work. Now, I'm with Peter. I don't know why sometimes the Americans feel I have to remake a foreign language film, even frame by frame, rather than just release the original with subtitles and hope for the best.
But when you say hope for the best, that's the reason, Greg and Peter, that you know the
part. The original film worked for a reason, and by softening the ending or changing the ending or going for a more cathartic ending, it doesn't work. It softens what made the first film work.
I don't disagree with what your collective thoughts are on this. The concern that I've got is that unfortunately so many people will just refuse to go and see a foreign language film. They want to hear it in English, and
there's nothing wrong with giving it a go, you know. And if they have a reason, maybe times have changed in 20 years or whatever. Maybe times have changed, and there's a good reason to adapt what the original was. But I think, Alex, you're right in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and you mentioned that because it stands out as being one of the very rare successes in translation, if you like, you know, so to speak, to an American version. Not many. Oh.
But I mean, you know, Jackie, I don't know whether you've got friends like this, but I've got friends who simply say, we're not going to see a foreign language film. I think it frustrates me because at times I'm really going to recommend things to people, especially, you know, friends of yours. You want to sort of say, well, go along and see this film. It's amazing. And
yes. And Alex, you know, we're not all the same people in this world. And some people simply see reading the subtitles as actually hard work. They just want to sit back and have the film roll over them. So they're just, I mean, you know, I'm not interested in...
Hang on. Let me just pick that up. I don't disagree with what you're saying, but let me pick it up as a talking point. What I find, and it's only me, and I wonder whether well, because we're all reviewers, we think similarly or not, I find that if you're into a movie, whether you're reading or not, you don't even realize you're reading after a period of time, and it doesn't take a lot. If you get into something, you're so involved, you're enveloped by the plot, by the narrative, then you're not even conscious of it. Do you find the same thing?
Oh, yes. I'm going to the film because I'm going to talk about it with you on the radio. My friend, who maybe finds the reading of it hard work, he's going to a film because she wants to sit back and have a chill night with a boyfriend. Okay? Different motivation for going.
Sure, no, but sorry, that wasn't the question. The question was, if you are reading a movie, you, Jaqui Hammerton, are you conscious if you're into the plot that you're reading it anymore or not?
Probably not sure. Well, actually, yes. It depends. If I can say it depends. If it's
You've given me three possible answers here. Right, yes. Maybe, not yes. Make up your mind.
I'm thinking on the fly here. I'm thinking if it's French or German. Because I studied those as languages, I actually quite enjoy testing myself as to the vocabulary that's in the subtitles as to whether I'm understanding the French at the same time as I'm reading it. So I have to put my hand up and say, yes, I do. I am conscious of reading it. And so I'm watching it on another level, if you like, because I'm testing my own language skills.
What about you, Peter? You who says...
Russian, I don't tend to do that.
Hey, Peter, what's your thoughts about reading? Like, are you conscious that you are reading? To me, it just hits wood off a duck's back. You certainly notice it in the first few seconds, but once you're into it, you don't even think twice about it.
I agree with you. It's I think people have moved on, and with the rise of world movies, with a number of foreign language films that have achieved Oscars, etc. Just thinking of the Korean and Japanese cinema that's doing very well indeed with English subtitles. I don't think that's an impediment anymore for most people. It's about the story. It's about characters. So it doesn't bother me at all.
I've got to tell you a story, Pete. My father was a translator and interpreter, and he was quite amazing. He spoke, read in whatever, 5 languages. And I saw him in a work environment. He was an accountant. I saw him change without blinking an eyelid from one language to another, to a third, to a fourth. I mean, that's a real skill set. I wish that, I struggle with English. I wish that I had part of that. And that's part of the European mentality, because so many Europeans, and my father was born in Austria, so many people have many languages. My mother had 3 as well. So it's, I mean, I don't imagine, I've got no idea, but I imagine if you're living in Europe, you don't think twice about it.
Exactly. And it's so interesting you said that, because my father was also born in Austria.
Okay. So, and he spoke a number of languages?
No, it was really only German.
Oh, okay. And Greg, what about you and your thoughts about, are you conscious of reading when you're seeing a foreign language film?
Not so much, no. I know I'm reading the subtitles and everything, but I'm also letting the film wash over me as well. So, yeah, and you do pick up a bit of language as you go along.
Well, yes, I suppose. I mean, but the funny thing is, the only thing that bothers me is when there's a spelling mistake, Jackie.
Yes.
The wrong letter is used or whatever. Can't they get that right? It's sort of, it's very funny. In fact, I've got to tell you, folks, a story that you sent me. It was just brilliant. The Hugh Jackman at the Oscars. What year was it, Jackie? Yesterday, a little
2009, I think, Alex.
Yeah, 2009. And did you notice how it had the subtitle? I don't know why it had subtitles on it. Golly, there was a lot wrong with the subtitles. Did you notice that when you were?
Some of them are automatically generated, so
it's AI. Oh,
you can soon tell when subtitles are automatically generated on a TikTok or just on a clip. But obviously, they shouldn't be for a film that you're going to a movie.
It's funny.
And a film.
That shouldn't be. But another war story here. Somebody said to me, I'm going to send you an AI-generated story. And I was a bit wary about it. They sent it to me, and it definitely read like an AI-generated story. So we're still some way away from being, seamless in terms of... I'm not saying AI can't generate some decent yarns, but firstly, factually, they're often incorrect. And secondly, the writing leaves a lot to be desired. Peter, about 20 minutes ago, no, about 5 minutes ago, you were talking about Speak No Evil. Please give me some further thoughts.
All right. Well, just to conclude my review, the English language version of Speak No Evil goes off the rails in the last half hour and conforms to the typical Hollywood stereotypes. And then we can see where the movie is heading, whereas the original was darker and had a lot more to say about evil in families. And I wish I could speak more evil of that original film, because that was such a superior film. So very disappointing, this English language remake.
That's interesting. I hadn't seen the original Gestern, and having heard you both speaking about it, Greg and you, I would really much like to see it. I also read I don't know whether, Jackie, you read a pretty distressing piece in The Age yesterday, or the day before, about Grace Tame, the former Australian of the Year, and she talked about having to leave her small hometown because of the evil that was perpetrated upon her, which I found extremely distressing reading. Did you see that piece or not? Got a lengthy piece yesterday. Okay, so look, I think I'm going to give it the high mark, because even though, I waited too long, I was sort of thinking, well, when's it going to ramp up a little bit? I'm going to give Speak No Evil an 8 out of 10. It's rated MA. It runs for 110 minutes, and I didn't have anything to compare it to. So, Jackie, what are you giving it?
I actually think a lot of people will like it. We're quite critical of it. But a lot of people who just want to go for an entertainment, I mean, they'll have fun. Not quite for me. I gave it a 6.5 to 7.
6.5 to 7. All right, well, I presume both of you, the rest, are going to give it a lower score. So Greg, what about you? What are you going to give Speak No Evil?
Even though it's the ending is a bit compromised from the original, I'm still going to give it 6 to 6.5.
Oh, okay, that's good. So come on, Mr. Recalcitrant, what do you give it? Peter, it's not a movie anybody should ever see in the history of mankind, things like that, yes?
Not quite, but I give it a recalcitrant 5 out of 10.
Oh, a bare pass. You can't be a little bit more generous?
No.
Okay. 5 out of 10. Wow. But do you take Jackie's point that there will be people who will enjoy this, who haven't seen, because there'll be a lot of people out there who won't have seen the original?
There will be people who will enjoy anything. It doesn't matter what the film is. You'll always get a polarised audience.
That wasn't the kind of response I was hoping for. But there you go. Thank you very much. JAIR 88 FM, you are listening to First on Film and Entertainment. Programming 24/7, great music, good stories being told, and some interesting topics. And if you want to become a member, $54 will do that. And as a community radio station, we need your support. So just go to j-air.com.au. Now, Harold and the Purple Crayon. Now, Jackie, this is a family film, a child's film. You usually give children's films a 10 out of 10, don't you? No comment, Jackie? Oh, hang on. Has she disappeared altogether?
Probably.
Oh, I didn't even realise that. Well,
you can't hear me, but I'm still here.
Oh, I don't know whether you were speaking or whether you
Yes.
making hands. You were making hand signals, were you?
Yeah, I was actually speaking, but for some reason it didn't. Never mind. I was saying that joke is worn thin, and no, I'm quite happy to judge a film.
You don't know a book by its cover. Yeah. All of that stuff, huh? Okay.
This is based on a book, so.
I say you do judge a book by its cover. Thank you. Yes.
This has gone crazy, yep.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hang on, it's a crazy film. Like, wouldn't it be great to be able to draw something and draw yourself out of difficulty when you get into strife? That's exactly what the key character here does. And with the purple crayon, no less. Why purple? But in fact, I've got to say that I have a member of my family whose favourite colour is purple. That's a nice starting point. What do you think of purple as a colour, Jackie?
Fine.
That's not acceptable. Fine. Okay. Oh, gee, exciting. Hey?
Why not purple?
Well, I would have thought enticing, intoxicating, something a little bit different, left of centre? There'd be expressions you use. What expression would you use, Peter, for purple?
Oh, look, I think it's quite acceptable, but just like any other colour, we all have our preferences.
What's your preference, Peter? What colour do you like?
I like blue.
Right, as in navy or as in electric?
I don't know. I haven't plugged one in, but probably electric.
Electric blue for Peter. Who would have thunk it? This is Peter without walls in the home, right? And
Electric blue is sung by Icehouse.
thank you very much. Very nice obtuse. I like it, Greg. What's your favourite colour?
Blue.
Really? And what blue? Electric or sky blue or navy?
I don't have any preference on the spectrum.
Okay, as long as it's on the spectrum, you're happy to have blue. I like it. And Jackie, what colour? Come on, pick up one. Jackie, you've disappeared. What is going on with you?
She's unplugged.
Yes, this is Jackie unplugged. She really has disappeared. I think we've offended her sense of colour.
No, I literally dropped out. But I'm here, and blue is the colour.
Is it now? Which sort of blue for you? We've had electric, neutral blue,
But I don't mind. I like baby blue, powder blue, cornflower blue, navy blue, electric blue.
Okay, all right. And can you can
also like red, and I also like orange.
You like red and orange? Okay, red, orange, and blue. Okay. You can guess, Jackie, my favourite colour.
Black and red.
Black and red, absolutely. They go well. They're like the perfect dinner.
Well, you won't be seeing them on grand final day, will you?
Thank you very much. I'm being hurt and offended at the present time. Yes, we're on the way up. This is what I spoke to a Richmond supporter during the week who said, "There's only one way for us to go up," and I said, "No, there's also out." The 19th team is coming into the competition. What year is it, Greg? 2028 or something with Tasmania, and 19 is not a good number for a number of football teams. So Richmond can go out. I don't think they liked my response. Anyway, Harold and the Purple Crayon, PG rated 90 minutes, I said. So what if a cartoon world turned into real life? And that's the premise at the heart of this movie, because Harold's a manifestation of this vivid imagination of a writer called Crockett Johnson, who wrote the book. And he's the character who, he, along with his buddies, Harold, and his buddies Moose and Porcupine, they're the two friends who are obviously a moose and a porcupine. They live their lives in this delightful, adventurous bubble. And they can effortlessly get out of any predicament, courtesy of Harold's magic purple crayon. In other words, when they are in strife, he literally draws them out of trouble. Very nice indeed. And when Harold grows up, he speaks with the narrator of the book, the narrator of the film, being the book's author, expressing a desire to experience the real world. So to transpose from cartoon characters into a physical reality. But then the narrator, who describes himself as an old man, disappears. And Harold draws a door into the real world to try to find him. And soon enough, he's joined by Moose and Porcupine, and they undertake this grand adventure with their animated manifestations being turned into flesh and blood. And involved in that are Terry, who's the mother of a boy named Mel, who has an imaginary friend. You know how kids have imaginary friends? So does Mel. And there's also involved in this plot a devious librarian called Gary Natwick. And it all starts when, having drawn an imaginary purple bicycle in the physical world, and with Moose as his passenger, Harold is hit by Terry's car. And in no time, Terry and her son Mel are drawn into the chaotic world of Harold et al. As he tries to find his old man, right? He tries to find the person who is the narrator. So it's a creative work of writers David Guion and Michael Handelman, And the pair found success with Dinner for Schmucks and Night at the Museum, Secret of the Tomb. And the question is, how far does one go with imagination in a family film like this? It's good humour, no question about that. I really enjoyed most of it. My slight reservation came, though, because I thought some sequences landed better than others. And I suppose that's the case with a lot of comedy. I thought the ending kind of went a little bit too far, but a sort of a dream sequence at the end there. I appreciated the naivete. I appreciated many of the sight gags. The actors, I thought they did a good job with the material with which they have to work. And they play their parts as kind of wide-eyed innocents. Zachary Levi or Levy. Is it Levy or Levi, Peter? Do you know?
Levi.
Is it? Okay. Zachary Levi, well, he plays Harold. He's the glue that binds the production together. Tanya Reynolds is a hoot as Porcupine. Really enjoyed her. And Lil Rel Howery is a lot of fun as Moose. Enjoys that role. I really liked Zooey Deschanel as the mum Terry, and Benjamin Batani is really impressive as her son. I thought he did a really good job. The tone in the voiceover, wasn't that pitch perfect? A great voice of Alfred Molina. And we should remember the passing of James Earl Jones, one of the great voices, one of the great actors. And isn't he one of the only ones who's won, what is it, a Tony, an Emmy, an Oscar, da-di-da-di-da?
He got.
Yes, he got a lot. No, I know. So what does he got stand for? Emmy,
Grammy, Oscar, and Tony.
Thank you very much. Well done. But what a very sad. He lived at 93 to 93 years of age, and you know that he sold his voice talent, I think, a year ago. So his voice is going to live on in a sort of an AI creation. The future world. I think that's brilliant. I think that because I loved his voice, it was terrific. But Alfred Molina is pitch perfect. The tone in his voiceover for Harold and the Purple Crayon. So by and large, the combination I thought of animation and live action works really effectively, especially when Purple Crayon sketches become real. And it's sort of fish out of water story. The director is Carlos Saldana, and Carlos adds a bit of flair and frivolity to the movie. What do you think, Jacqueline? Harold and the Purple Crayon.
I'm so sorry, it didn't do it for me. I know the book, and I won't say I read the book to my children when they were young, but we went through the picture book together, and it was absolutely delightful, and it had a lot to say, but it was a very simple picture book, and it had a simple theme to it, whereas this film, talk about films going to the Hollywood edge, this really did just, it's a shame that it's got the same name as the book, because it really isn't anything.
Well, but isn't it the starting point for the film?
The initial premise, yes.
Yeah, the premise
goes, way off with, villains and dragons, and anyway, there's some clever things in it. I quite like that Wild West scene where they have to, shall we say, draw their weapons, and their weapons are everything from the lasso and the axe and the slinky and that sort of thing, and they had the Wild West music going, and there were quite a few little cute things going on there. The boy in the film was particularly good, but I didn't really take to the characters, and I didn't really get the age group this was for, because there were a couple of very scary things in Harold and the Purple Crayon, specifically that spider fly creature. That
was scary, I agree. But hang on, it's got a PG rating, so what does parental guidance mean to you, Jackie? About 10-year-old, 9-year-old, something like that? I would have thought.
Oh, no. PG, you'd want it to be for 5 and up, 6 and up.
What,
PG?
That's parental guidance. I mean, well, that's interesting. I don't know, what do you read into it, Greg? If you see PG, what have you seen Harold and Purple Crayon or not yet?
I have. I was there last Saturday when you were there, Alex.
I'm sorry. Did I ignore you totally? I'm sorry about that. So, okay, but I'm talking PG as a rating. When you see that, I think older than 5. Do you or do you not?
Oh, look, up to 10, 12, I think, is fine. Because the M rating is next, and that's 15. So, PG is anything below 15, anything from 5 to 15.
So you think 5 as well as a starting point, do you? Wow, that's interesting. And Peter, what about you?
Well, some of the Disney animated films recently have been PG, so that they still are aimed at kids.
Yeah, but I mean, when you say kids...
So I think parental guidance means exactly that. It means you judge the maturity of your child and whether they're a nervous child or they've had a lot of experience with movies and they know to expect and they've got an imagination or not. And also parental guidance is the parents can speak with them about whatever the themes or issues might be afterwards. So it's not so much an age thing as the parent makes a judgment on their child's ability to handle whatever the...
I fully understand that and I respect what you've just said, but I kind of... Peter, have you seen Harold and the Purple Crayon? What age group do you think it's aimed at?
Yes, I have. You also need to look at the advisories that go with the rating. So sometimes it says language or mild violence or whatever. So I agree with Jackie. It's not necessarily a minimum age, although I would suspect at least 5 or 6 for a film like this.
Well, you see the picture book, by Johnson was actually for age 2.
Right.
It's a little picture book, and it's teaching children about the value of, using your imagination. So it's a simple thing. Whereas this film takes a simple young picture book theme and turns it into quite an adventure with some scary things going on.
So you were really disappointed in it, basically?
Oh, yes.
Okay, that is disappointing.
The characters weren't great.
Hang on. Wait a second. I wanted to pick you up on that. Wasn't Porcupine terrific? You didn't think Porcupine...
I didn't find any energy in her at all.
Wow, totally the opposite. I reckon you saw a different movie. What about you, Greg? Did you like Porcupine and Moose?
Yes, I quite enjoyed the film. I thought it was a lot of fun. And I agree with some of the stuff Jackie said there. The kid who was great, I thought. And I liked Zachary Levi. He had a sort of sense of sarcasm and innocence about... He's got a sort of childlike innocence about the role he played here. But I like the flights of fantasy when he drew all these different things to help them get out of trouble, like their little planes and all sort of cars, putting spare tyres on cars and all that sort of stuff. Oh, it's just a wonderful fantasy there. But it's also got some great themes to explore, like the importance of family, the importance of imagination, trust, all that kind of thing. I thought it was well shot and did well. I like Jermaine Clement as the nasty librarian there, with a bit driven by
Gary Nat character, yeah.
I thought he was a great character as well. And I thought that showdown between the two towards the end there was well played for laughs. Lots of overdosing in special effects as usual with Hollywood films there. But yeah, I quite enjoyed this, I thought, and it's going to appeal to a fairly broad audience, I would have thought.
Did you like the fantasy thing at the end? I didn't. I thought that wasn't necessary.
Didn't worry me.
Okay. So what about you, Pete? You like your Purple Crayons?
Not particularly. I prefer Electric Blue. But anyway, I was disappointed by this film because it doesn't know its audience. I was unsure as to whether the film was pitched as a young audience to develop imagination and fantasy, or whether it was meant to be for adults, which look at the whole notion of family and putting together the notion of being creative.
Does Peter Cunningham appeal to both?
I don't think it did, because there were a lot of scenes that were very derivative, were very Hollywood, and didn't quite nail it insofar as the whole notion of imagination, which is what the original picture books were all about. I felt that Jermaine Clement's character as the villain was an unnecessary Lord of the Rings type of character, even though the film was shot in New Zealand. But I was disappointed by Zooey Deschanel's character. Very good actress.
Yeah, why? What did you want to... I thought she was terrific.
I thought she was just so laid back and had very little to do, and was given poor dialogue in many respects, just the reactionary dialogue that didn't really advance Zachary Levi's character and their interactions. It was directed by Carlos Saldana, who originally directed animations, and this is his first live-action combo animation direction, and it shows because he is a bit lost as to what he is trying to do or to say. And I must admit I was disappointed by the whole creation because I would have liked the film to be more imaginative, more family-friendly, and to really talk more about being creative. And the film failed to do that for me.
Wow. So you and Jackie agree with one another on this, and Greg and I are much more inclined the other way. So it's one of these divisional type films. Greg, I presume I'm going to give it a 6.5 to a 7. It's Harold and the Purple Crayon, and it runs for an hour and a half. PG rated. What would you give it?
I'd give it 6 out of 10.
Okay, so a little bit lower. So, Peter, are you going to pass it?
I can only give it 4 out of 10, I'm afraid.
My golly. So it fails to attract even a younger audience, you reckon? Wouldn't like it?
No, I think they'd be bored.
Okay. Jackie?
Yes, I just gave it a 5. I agree with everything Peter said. It didn't go to one award. I would have loved it if it had been an animation along the lines of the start of the film, but maybe a little more sophisticated than that, rather than being an entirely, what we know as a Hollywood animation film. But just keep it really simple and true to the book and develop just the imagination idea of it without all the extras. It would have been quite a different film, and I think it could have been quite special.
And you don't think it works to sort of have both? Because I thought that was the cleverness in the film, to have.
If it had been clever, it would have worked, but I didn't think it was clever at all. I thought it was quite lame in those the characters, and as Peter also said, the dialogue was lame.
Well, that is the crayon's been written off. Bonhard, Pierre and Marta, a rated MA, runs for 2 hours and 3 minutes. Now, here we go. This is a foreign language picture that I thought was quite interesting because, I mean, I was aware. Well, firstly, let me start there. Were you aware, Peter, of the painter Pierre Bonhard before you saw this movie?
No, I was not.
Ah, okay. I was, but I didn't know a lot about him. I wasn't aware of Marta Bonhard, his wife. But look, the truth behind the complicated relationship between the painter who was a French post-impressionist, Pierre Bonhard, lived from 1867 to 1947, and his wife Marta, well, it may forever be illusory because there are different representations of it. But as it is, it remains subject to interpretation. Now, that doesn't prevent the co-writer with Marc Abdelnour, and it doesn't prevent Martin Provost, who's the person I'm talking about, from penning quite a fascinating biopic focusing upon this relationship. So Pierre was an up-and-coming painter when he, chanced upon Marta in Paris in 1893. So let's do a bit of arithmetic. That would have meant that he was about 26 years of age, and asked her to model for him. So quite a striking woman. She presented herself as a seamstress for an artificial flower maker. But the truth was something different, wasn't it, Peter? The sparks between them flew immediately. They were besotted with one another, and they were sort of hopping into the cot constantly, and as you are when you sort of start out a relationship. She actually became his muse. But what she didn't care for was his aristocratic French living in Paris, the Paris friends. And the couple ended up settling into a remote country life because that's what she preferred. He was dedicated to his art, and he was also an unmistakable womanizer, something that caused her a great deal of angst. Still, she stood by him, even when he took a special interest in one young lover called Renee Chatty, played by Stacey Martin, who basically, this was interesting too. She, for a time, moved in with the pair. So you had the wife and the lover in the same house. Now, among those with whom they kept company, I'm talking about Pierre and his wife Marta, was one of the big fellow artists of the time, Claude Monet. Monet was older than Pierre Bonhard, but good friend. And it appears that this sort of libertarian lifestyle was not just the domain of Pierre Bonard. Now, I'm not sure how much of that's true, although I have heard and read that it was true. So, maybe they stretched it a bit in this movie, but nevertheless, that sort of became a mainstay of this in terms of the narrative. So, notably, regardless of the affairs that he had, Pierre was inevitably drawn back to his wife and clearly cared for her deeply. At times she struggled, though, with, this is the wife, with asthma, and later in life her mental health deteriorated. Martin Prevost, well, he's painted a picture of an intriguing couple and the company that they kept. A lot of jealousy abounds with the wife, and, it's understandable. I'm not just talking about Marta, though, in terms of jealousy. And I actually found the film, which takes the form of this turbulent love story, quite intelligent. It was engaging. It was quite compelling. And for Pierre, subterfuge appears to be the order of the day, because, he was juggling things whilst he was really committed to his craft, namely his art. He still found time for a bit of hanky-panky. In other words, the questions posed are, what could he get away with, and how much was Marta prepared to take? And the answer to the latter was a great deal. And not to be a bit too churlish about it, I reckon the reason for the lifestyle, the reason that she did sort of stay around, part of it was the lifestyle it afforded her, given her own history, which I won't go into detail with here. But there's no question that she loved him as well. I really appreciated the representation of her by Cécile de France, who I like as an actor. She brings this sort of buoyancy and zest and feistiness and also a sense of being worn down to the role. Then Vincent McCain is more secretive and aloof as Pierre, although he starts out with a great deal of vigour, I might say, reflective of a 26-year-old. Stacey Martin makes a good fist of her persona as the ingenue who has her eyes well and truly opened. Really beautiful cinematography, really lovely, lush surrounds. Another feature of Bonhard, Pierre and Marta, Ghulam Schiffman, who was the cinematographer of The Artist. He's responsible. Great movie, The Artist, by the way, the black and white film that won the Oscar. And he's the one, as the cinematographer, that transports us into a world rich with natural and man-made beauty in a movie that very clearly deals with the wandering eye as well as art. So, yeah, I enjoyed Bonhard, Pierre and Marta. I'm not sure that it needed to go on for 2 hours and 3 minutes, but I know that doesn't trouble you. If the movie was 20 hours, it wouldn't trouble you, Peter, would it?
No, very artistic.
Yes, thank you. So, what did you think of it?
I liked it. It's one of a slew of French films that have been made over the last 15, 20 years, which look at the artistic temperament and, in particular, painters, artists, sculptors, etc. And this one deals with Pierre Bonhard, who was an impressionist painter who obviously had his affairs and dalliances, but was devoted to his wife, and he encouraged her to also become a painter, which the film also reveals. It's well shot in surroundings which mimic the villa that they lived in for 50 plus years. It just has that glow and feel to it about the artistic life, the business of art, and relationships, and also the whole notion of being loyal or devoted to a partner. I liked it. It's a well-made film. I read up about the original story, and yes, it is largely based on fact. Mind
you, I read alternative versions. I did read alternative versions, Peter, that there's some question marks about exactly what went on and why. which I kind of, it's interesting when you see a movie and you haven't read much about it, you kind of believe that the movie is 100% truthful. And of course, that's a dangerous thing to do.
Of course.
History's often rewritten, isn't it, in the eyes of the beholder. And it sort of reminded me, and there's a strange sort of deviation for me to take here, but my wife had some friends over, well, not over, but who she hadn't seen for about 40 years. And we were talking about their perceptions of the US presidential election. And boy, is that divisive. You know, the talk during the week about eating cats and dogs and basically stealing geese. That was the latest version. Now, you know, you can take that literally, or you can take it as poetic license in a big way. And it's interesting how different people, depending upon your political persuasion, choose to believe one way or the other. So, but I mean, it is a good movie. It's quite compelling. Did you not think it could have been a bit shorter?
No. I've seen much longer films that deal with artist's life, and I felt this one was quite adequate with its time frame.
Okay. Well, let's get a score from you. Bonhard, Pierre and Marta, MA rated 123. What are you giving it?
Yeah, no, it is largely based on a true story and not on a delusional ranting of a potential president. But anyway, Bonhard I liked very much, and I gave it 7 out of 10.
And I gave it 7.5. Greg, you're catching up with it, yeah?
I haven't seen it yet, no.
Oh, that's fair enough. We're over and done with, and unfortunately Jackie had to leave us, so farewell, Jackie, in her absence. Peter, thanks very much indeed. Gregory, a pleasure to have you with me as well. And we will do it all again very, very soon. First on film and entertainment. Enjoy your week, folks. Have fun.